What's going on, everybody? About time we got back into some Dragon Age Inquisition. I've been wanting to do all of these DLCs, and that is exactly what we're going to do. This character in particular, I basically streamed with you guys. If you missed that and you want to check it out, it's down there in the live stream section below, but along with some other games. But this one in particular, I made all the key decisions during the story that I thought might be relevant in the DLC. Got my romance option, which is Sarah. Cassandra's the Divine. Don't know what relevance that'll have, but we'll see. I'm going to start with the Jaws of Hakkon, then we'll go on to the Descent, and then we'll finish with Trespasser, which I haven't even touched. I did get a brief look at Jaws of Hakkon with you guys on stream. We kind of speed ran through it. Didn't pay a whole lot of attention. Just kind of wanted to see what we were in for. Notice I'm playing with a lot of the trials active. The one that's probably going to be buggy, but it's hard to resist playing with it, is the one where the enemies have special immunities and abilities. Sometimes that can be really, really buggy. Like a common foot soldier can one-shot Cassandra through barrier guard and whatever. The equivalent of like 20 dragon tail swipes stacked. I don't think it's supposed to be like that. I don't know. Anyway, it warns you that it's going to be buggy. I could play without that one on, but it does provide an extra bit of challenge and brings something similar to what I consider Dragon Age Nightmare mode. When I think of Nightmare, you know, I keep the friendly fire active, but I also think of certain enemies being immune to stuff. Problem with this, with these trials, is that the immunities are kind of random. It's not like a particular enemy is basically not going to get touched by this, so you have to hit them with something different. In this, it's just, it can be whatever, and sometimes those immunities can even be stacked to where some things are invincible. I.e., I ran across a barrier that had a barrier that was invincible. You couldn't start hurting the barrier because it had a barrier that you couldn't destroy. It was literally unkillable, didn't matter what element you used or anything. And I reloaded, and it fixed it, so that may happen a few times in here. May have to stop recording and go back and redo some stuff if we run into any bugs or glitches or whatever. Sometimes it happens a little more than I'd like, and other times we get a good amount of gameplay where it's a lot of fun. Like I say, the challenge is up there. I like that they added these trials where I believe it comes with the Trespasser DLC, where you get the enemies scaling with you like they're supposed to, in my opinion, in Nightmare mode. And the enemies, of course, get some immunities and extra abilities. The bears become stronger, like mini-bosses. Some of them are even actually called bosses, and they have like 200,000 hit points. It's ridiculous. But it makes it more fun. And it actually makes you at least think about your character build a little bit, which is nice. And anyway, all right, well, let's go take a look. Let's head to Jaws of Hakkon. We'll start there, and we'll take a look around. I remember it being really, really pretty. But not real familiar with the lore, so some of this will be discovery for me as well as for you guys that haven't played through this yet.
Allow me to introduce Professor Bram Kenrick. He's the reason we're out here.
A pleasure to meet you, Your Worship.
Professor Kenrick teaches at the University of Orlais.
I came on an exchange program from Starkhaven. While in Val Royeaux, I've found something incredible. After 800 years, we may be able to determine the final resting place of the last Inquisitor.
I'm afraid I'm a little behind on my studies.
Inquisitor Emeridon stepped down shortly before the Nevarran Accord brought the Seekers of Truth into the Chantry. He hunted demons, dragons, and dangerous apostates in a time before Templars even existed.
I'm all for history if it means tracking down the equipment of a famous demon hunter.
Scout Harding, you had me at equipment.
Thought you might like that.
Your scouts have gathered artifacts from the area. They may help us discover what Inquisitor Emeridon was doing.
I have news as well. We've encountered hostile Avar to the north. They call themselves the Jaws of Hakkon. There's also an Avar hold to the east. Unlike the Jaws of Hakkon, they've been friendly so far.
The Jaws of Hakkon?
They're hostile Avar who attack any Inquisition agents or researchers who get close. We've sent soldiers for defense, but the Hakkonites are cunning, merciless, and know the basin better than we do. I'm afraid our men will not be able to hold out long.
See if we can talk a bit more to Scout Harding. I've always liked her a lot.
I thought we could catch up.
Of course.
Have you spoken to Kenrick much?
A bit. He's quite nice, isn't he? And clever. Really loves his books. I said hello one day while he had his nose buried in a giant tome. His shriek was a winner. I can't stop doing it now. It's too funny.
How do you like the Frostback Basin?
It's lovely, isn't it? At least until you step in a pile of bogfish or poo. The stuff's vile. It makes great fuel for starting fires, though, if you can tolerate the smell. I might suggest that to the commander. It could be great for sieges.
The commander would never go for it. He's too dignified.
You mean uptight? Sorry. Don't tell him I said that.
They say you grew up in a village. Where did you learn how to fight? Draw a bow? All that?
Here and there. You pick things up as a little dwarf girl in a village filled with piggish Ferelden boys. I'm no artist with a blade. I just know what hurts and what takes them down quick. Bruised a shin or two in my day, and a few, you know, other things. And archery? Oh, there was a traveling hunter who set me up with my first bow and taught me the basics. After that, I practiced on my own. On squirrels, mostly. Oh, and Heinrich from next door, but only with padded arrows.
I hear you have family in Ferelden.
Yes, my mother and father. I insisted they moved to Denerim once I signed up with the Inquisition. Ambassador Montelier tells me I should invite them to Skyhold. She thinks they'd be proud of me. But after Haven, I just can't, you know? It's not that I don't trust you or our soldiers. It's just, I just want them to be safe. And if that means they don't get to see things firsthand, that's okay. My mother likes writing letters anyway.
What do you think about the Avar?
When I was a little girl, a lady in our village used to tell me Avar tales. Being able to see their lives up close, it's nothing like I thought. They're very tall, aren't they? I was considering a proposal for Commander Cullen. Avar allies with dwarven archers astride their shoulders. They'd be unstoppable.
We defeated Corypheus. I thought you'd have returned to your old life.
After everything I've seen, I don't think I could ever go back to my old life. Could you? I can't just pretend. I can't just pretend I'm the same person. I got a letter from my mother. She was happy the breach was sealed. She had no idea what we went through. And I don't have the heart to tell her.
We'll continue this another time.
Safe travels.
Yes, to get some insight into one of my favorite dwarfs. Be cool if she was a romance option. I don't know, maybe she is somehow, one way or another. Not sure. A little dialogue about having already defeated Corypheus. I wonder what she might say if you jump into this DLC before the end game. Of course, I finished the game. We did go ahead and defeat Corypheus, and like I say, make some of the major decisions that I thought might have some relevance. I've been told, hinted without spoilers, thanks to my friends who are considerate about that kind of stuff, that the romance option and stuff like that may have something to do with the Trespasser DLC. Like I say, I have no idea what that DLC is about. This one, I rushed through it briefly. I think we got through this whole thing in like 2 hours or something. I don't know, I think that's in one of the streams down below also, in the live stream section. I don't remember, but anyway, looking forward to coming back through here and taking a closer look. This area is beautiful. A lot like the kind of a mix between the Hinterlands and the Emerald Graves, which are similar in some ways. But yeah, this is kind of a mix of both, and it has tree houses, really cool tree houses and stuff. And I guess what we'll do is essentially just try to circle. We're essentially on an island type thing. Try to circle and just go from campsite to campsite and explore and discover what there is in between. Sure, there'll be a lot of side quests and stuff to do. Going to have some really nasty times with the archers here. The enemies, these Jaws of Hakkon, these angry Avar, use, I guess, what is essentially like a spirit blade type weapons, but their arrows, their knives, their daggers, their hammers, whatever, even their magic. And it cuts right through armor. I believe it bypasses armor completely. Similar, well, like magic, you know. Magic does that, and they do a lot of bonus damage. Some of them do, in my opinion, way too much damage. They don't just one-shot you. They'll one-shot you through. They'll kill Cassandra in one shot with a full barrier and a full bar of guard and all of her armor bonuses that she has and all of her health in one shot. I've never seen anything in the game that can really do that. Like I said, I think that's a bug that comes with maybe too many special abilities being stacked due to the trial being active. I don't know. Or maybe they're just supposed to be OP'd like that, like the Dragon Age 2 assassins, you know, just to make your life miserable here and there. Whatever it may be. So if we run into stuff like that, won't be real surprised. But the end of this DLC, the final, let's just say the final battle, without getting into it any more than that, was a real eye-opener. It was, I would say, the hardest contest I've had in this game, period. Maybe across a lot of the Dragon Age games, with the trials active, because it was so, well, we'll see when we get there. Don't know if it's to be a little more manageable here. I thought I ran through it with an assassin. Thought my assassin was a real heavy hitter. My Reaver here has some things that make a little survivability a little better, some things a little worse. So I don't know. Don't have stealth to shed threat with. All right, so I guess the entire basis for being here is to find this something having to do with this Inquisitor Armadon or whatever. And I believe that's what the scholar is here looking for also, right?
Harding has an impressive team. Her people brought back a number of artifacts.
If you need something tracked, Scout Harding is your woman.
If only it were that easy. After 800 years, we can't just look for tracks. Barring enchantment, cloth and leather will have long since rotted away. Only metal and stone remain recognizable. Complicating this are recent pieces the Avar left behind, and of course ancient pieces dating back to Tevinter. Fortunately, thanks to some period-specific buckling, I've been able to track our last Inquisitor.
You said there were pieces dating back to Tevinter.
Yes, while it's rare to see Tevinter ruins so far south, the Imperium once had an outpost of some sort here. They might have built it as a ritual site. I'm not sure what military value it could have. In any event, it's muddled up the research slightly, but I've accounted for it.
You lost me at buckling.
You'd think that a buckle was a buckle. But ever since people started belting on weapons, they've been adding bits. One piece here has a dragon engraving. With the alloys of the metals used, it's clearly Tevinter. While this one uses a clasp that wasn't invented until the dawn of the Elysian Empire. And when it comes to historical research, you might say we have to buckle down.
Boo.
What do you have, Professor?
Everything so far points to the shore not far to the south. There was some sort of battle near the shoreline. They were in a hurry. The scouts reported an island near an Avar fishing camp, but the Avar won't say much about it.
What makes you think the last Inquisitor was fighting?
There's a clasp here common to armor links. It's clearly torn. That only happens from a heavy shearing blow, like large claws or an axe. Then there's the dagger. Silverite, with a stylized dragon pommel and an inscription reading Cordilis. That dagger had to be a gift from Cordilis Dracon, first emperor of Orlais. No one would just lose such a thing.
What can you tell me about the Avar fishing camp?
Not much. It's the friendly Avar, not these jaws of Hakkon barbarians. According to the scouts, they wouldn't say much about the area. Likely a local superstition.
I'll find a way to that island and see if there's anything useful there.
Excellent. I'll continue to study what's been found. With luck, we'll both find some answers. Also, one of my research assistants, Colette, was investigating an old structure to the north. I'm not certain it's related to our investigation, but it couldn't hurt to check with her.
Alright, we'll go find her. Alright, a couple things here. Not only is Scout Harding as cute as ever, let's get a little more insight into her personality, but I think she may have a crush on this professor guy, who apparently is the good-hearted fellow with his nose in his books and is oblivious to all else. Definitely that kind of persona, but anyway, I'm sure we'll meet up with them here and there along our travels as we find interesting things leading to the clues into this past Inquisitor. I believe from the Inquisition stemmed the initial Chantry, Seekers of Truth, and so on and so forth. And then I think what we see today is something of a shadow. It's more just a political machine, as opposed to how it initially started. Maybe be a little bit more lore and history into that. Some of those things that we read here, although I didn't just, recite them, the gist of it, what I gathered is this this last Inquisitor, he's kind of an enigma. There's not a whole lot known about him. There's theories and speculations, but nothing real clear as to who he was or why he just kind of disappeared from the annals of history shortly after, who was it, Emperor Dracon? I remember at Tower of Dracon in Origins, actually, there in Denerim. You actually get locked up there, right? And it's where the final battle takes place there. But I guess that's named after the original Emperor who settled Ferelden, First Orlesian Emperor? I don't know. And then I guess it'd be left over signs of him in Ferelden because Orlais essentially once owned all that territory, having taken it from the Tevinters. I'm being vague here because I'm not real clear on Dragon Age history, except what I've gotten from bits and pieces of reading stuff, like Codex and things. But anyway, this Inquisitor kind of just sort of disappeared. It may have something to do with the official forming of the Chantry and the dissolving of the Inquisition proper, and possibly the bringing the Seekers and so on and so forth in as all being one entity. Bringing them all under the umbrella or shadow of the Chantry as the religious figurehead of all things, spiritual or something. I don't know, being the one over church, over everybody else. And it's definitely still like that today. But like I said, I think it was a whole lot different back then. I'm finding that for everything you learn about what history really was, it's just about the exact opposite or something completely different than what we've read and what people traditionally believe, based on what you hear them say in the game. Like how the Chantry priests recite things, the common conception about where this came from or what happened at this point in time in history and stuff. It's almost all wrong. And uncovering the truth, not only are the people here, especially the key figures, wardens, inquisitors, stuff like that in the game, not only are they looking for the real truth, but the player is allowed to uncover these things and find out. Reading between the lines is usually the case in discovering, how things really went down back then, and how much importance they really have, how much bearing they have on understanding what's really going on in the game and why. Why the bad guys do what they do and what power, what makes them think that they're right. Like Gryphius, he's obviously completely deluded and totally power mad and so on and so forth, but on some level, at some point, he thinks he's right, and he stands on this pedestal of having some deep understanding of the true history of things because he was there. He saw it take place. Now, it may have been from a very skewed view. His perception may be completely off, but still, from a Tevinter Magister's viewpoint, looking down upon everything beneath him, the flotsam and jetsam of humanity that's, beneath him, his concern, beneath his boot heels, so to speak. Very much carrying that attitude, but still, he was there. This was hundreds, thousands, whatever years ago. The original Tevinter Imperium, and then, all the wars and things that took place and what happened or really didn't happen with the elves and all that other stuff. He would have some insight into a lot of that. And that's just a perfect example. So here, I imagine we'll uncover, some glimpse at what really went down with the last Inquisitor. Why was he even here? Why did he essentially leave the guidance of, say, the Chantry? The fold from under, the new Emperor Dracon, and were they at odds when he did so, or was he hiding some scandalous secret that the new Chantry wouldn't approve of because it didn't fit the dogma that they were trying to unleash upon mankind, right? I mean, if the Chantry had some religious agenda that they needed to keep, pretty much all religions are guilty of that, then anything that didn't fit into their little, you know, fairy tales, they would have to hide that, cover it up, like keep it secret and so on and so forth. And it's possible anything having to do with the original Inquisition and things happening pre-Chantry would have been covered up. So I would say the Chantry itself is probably more responsible than anybody else for perverting, corrupting, hiding, and twisting history and the truth. I don't know. I just, you know, just kind of throwing that out there. It's just, it seems to be the general principle that the game follows when uncovering anything having to do with, you know, the past. Especially way back, you know, pre-Blight and stuff. All that time back there. What we think we know and what really happened may be, or most likely going to be two completely different things. Anyway, here, take a look at these enemies with the trials active. A lot of their immunities and resistances and stuff and special abilities. There are times where, and this can be really bad for a rogue or assassin, they'll have the perceptive trait just like a high dragon and be able to flush you out of cover, and you can't really go into stealth. That not only takes away a lot of your bonuses and abilities, you know, advantage for being a rogue in the first place, but can make things really tricky and trying to shed threat. Say you're almost dead and you're trying to...
Many creatures avoid places where the veil is thin.
Ooh, nice.
I suspect this was an
Nice.
exception.
Always take Fade Touch stuff. Look around for some loot here, see if they were guarding something. See lots of piles of bones over here. Yes, there's loot. Oh, good loot, too. Damn, look at the damage on that thing. There's definitely going to be some damage upgrade weapons. I'm going to stay true to my Ornate Battle Axe because it really fits my build. If I can't find anything else that allows for critical modifiers, both critical chance and critical damage, then I wouldn't go for it. But if there's some new schematic for some new weapon, I might consider it. As long as keeping my critical chance at a certain point is key. That's the most important thing. And then, of course, critical damage after that. But, I don't know. We'll take a look and see what the game has to offer. I'm not going to the wiki to find all the new available items and stuff. I've seen some things as it is, and so I'm going to hope that there's at least a couple things that are a surprise. Anyway, one key thing, notice I'm not playing the Reaver, obviously, the big Canary warrior that I played in the first playthrough. I've played many characters since then, streamed most of them, a lot of them. In fact, those of you who regular the streams know that we'll jump in Inquisition sometimes for weeks at a time and play through different characters. We'll experiment with different builds, throw in some new challenges, you know, just limit our character to certain tier materials or schematics, certain class, you know, limitations and stuff. Anyway, done a bunch of stuff like that. This one in particular, I wanted to play through with some of the new gear. This right here, this Enhanced Belt of Urgency, was the key item. It basically gives you haste, sort of. It's not haste like we might be used to in Origins or especially Dragon Age 2, but it does allow you to attack faster, and it gives more of a Berserk feel to the Reaver. And I consider my Reaver more of Berserker than a true Reaver. About the only time I really use Dragon Rage with this particular character is just to get my health below 50% so I can proc that speed boost. And of course the damage boost is nice. That comes with the Reaver tree also. The more hurt you are, the more damage you do. It is a fine balance, though, not really being able to take much damage. So I have taken a different look at my followers, and my theory crafting in this particular team build is that my followers maximize their focus game, and so they can use their focus abilities a lot more. Specifically, Vivian and Cassandra, who can generate not only health but also guard. And keeping a full bar of guard up there and allowing Vivian to spam barrier and keeping really strong barriers up allow me a little more cushion to run around at a quarter, you know, to a third health, like I am right now. This is pretty much my standard. It annoyed some people in our stream. At first, they'd drop in, you know, people I didn't even recognize, and they would say, "Dude, why don't you heal?" You know, and I'm like, well, kind of the whole point of this is the speed boost and the damage boost stacked. The faster you swing, the more damage you do. And if you're already getting a damage boost just for being hurt, and then you get a an attack speed boost on top of that. For example, if you attack 50% faster, you're essentially doing 50% more damage. But if you're proccing a lot more crits because of it, so I keep my crit chance really, really high with this character, and we lean on Varric's ability to sunder armor. I've looked at some enemies that were in extended battles, really, really tough enemies like dragons or things like that. And I've noticed they'll have the sundered effect stacked like 10, 12 times, which is probably about the cap. I believe it's like, about 5% of their armor, 5 to 10% of their armor, maybe 12%. I think it depends. When it says sunder armor, certain percentage, I don't know if that's a chance percentage or amount of their armor that gets cracked when you hit them, either with a critical or whatever. Anyway, Varric's really good at pulling that off, and I believe there's an ability built into my skill tree as well. Anything that says sunder armor, sometimes there's a bug in the game, and that will produce a bleed effect, which doesn't even work, essentially, and it's certainly irrelevant on Nightmare anyway. But most of the skill abilities, right, and not the things that you can mastercraft into your gear, but the skill abilities that you see on your skill trees that talk about sunder armor, it essentially reduces their armor rating to where they're eventually almost naked, and that's where criticals really start to shine. Up until then, at the start of a battle, your damage is debuffed a little bit by a highly armored opponent. A dragon is a perfect example of that. Their armor rating is through the roof. Probably the highest armor rating of just about any enemy in the game. For the most part, except for maybe some, I don't know, what would you call them? Reaver-type enemies that you might run across. They'll have high armor ratings. I don't think anything really compares to a dragon. And it's supposed to be that way, right? Well, if you can crack that dragon's armor by 60, 70, 80%, whatever the cap is, you're treating them as if they're almost naked. And armor is the biggest resistance to critical damage. In fact, your critical modifier takes place before armor rating is even factored in. And so it can greatly reduce the damage you're doing. You get that armor knocked down, though, and that critical damage starts bleeding through. And then you're talking about a lot higher multiples than you might get with attack or other things. And I'm sure when it all boils down, if you had a warrior with really, really high attack, right? Maybe not real good critical chance, but really high attack, and you're just putting up a steady stream of numbers, I think that would be pretty efficient also. And you would also do some pretty good guard damage bonus. But I've got that too. I have actually, my strength is buffed on a lot of my gear, like my armor, for example. All of my pieces of armor have maximum strength upgrades. And so I think my strength is sitting at a solid, I don't know, 90, almost 100 right now. And I think my guard damage bonus is like 80-something%. And when you stack that with a critical, that will take a bar of guard down really, really quick in a couple hits. I mean, even with a dragon, you can, those dragons that they stomp their feet and they get a full bar, you can erase that bar of guard really, really fast. So I think this is a really good balance. I've enjoyed this character a lot, been able to get in there and really mix it up. Also with the max focus gain, even though my character isn't wearing a belt of focus, everyone else is. In fact, there's a master belt of focus in here, and equip that on either Vivian or Cassandra, maybe even Varric, actually. I think Varric would probably be the highest DPS of my followers, although I'm allowing Cassandra to actually do some damage also this time through. I mean, she's tanking, but once all of her tanking stuff is set, go ahead and factor some stuff into her gear that allows her, maybe a few extra crits here and there. And I would also think that would allow her to draw more threat than she already draws, which is pretty significant. She likes to spam Warcry and Challenge a lot, but being able to do damage is always a factor in a warrior being able to draw extra threat. And that's key for Cassandra. She needs to be drawing the people's attention, especially here with these stupid archers and stuff. Although if they're going to be one-shotting Cassandra, she used to be able to tank like a boss. I don't know. Maybe a whole different thing. They have to rethink that. Archers are probably going to be obviously first priority here, but they have these stupid assassins also that have these spirit blades. We'll see when we get into a fight with these guys, and they can one-shot you too. Basically anything can one-shot you, especially if it's buffed with this stupid trial. I don't know what their damage modifier is, but it seems like times 1,000% sometimes. I mean, literally. Anyway, we'll see all that as we go. But so that's the basis of this build, is the speed boost, and everything's really built around that belt of urgency. I really keyed towards that specifically, keeping that constant speed buff procced. and using Dragon Rage as a way to control your health bar, so even if you have a full barrier and full bar of guard, you can still sacrifice some of your health to get below that 50% mark. It's been working really well, and the damage output has been really, really high, consistent. No huge criticals of like, 20, 30, 50k or any of that crap, but lots of 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5,000s. Lots of those. And I like that. Pretty similar to the other Reaver / Berserker builds, that I've made videos for. Not a whole lot different. The Belt of Urgency is the primary difference. And we'll also maybe take a look at some of the extra skills you get from, I believe, the Trespasser DLC also. It added some new upgrades to your skills. Instead of just morphing them into one thing, you can morph them into two. The only real key one I saw for Reaver was the one where Ring of Pain can move with you, but it becomes a friendly fire ability. And it's not so bad against anyone but Varric. Varric does not take very kindly to that. You can destroy Varric really, really quickly, having Ring of Pain active. It's kind of funny, but it's not really cool when you're trying to fight, obviously. And we got some new puzzles here. And that's not going to work. I can't go both directions at once, can I? I wasn't expecting these. I don't remember these running through here before. Also, the shards. I don't know if these shards just apply to the doors in the Oasis to unlock those. Which we actually, with this character, found all the shards, believe it or not. But do they apply towards those, or are there going to be some new spirit doors to unlock? Here on the island, maybe, or something. I don't know. So I don't really have anything I can do with these shards. But I won't suffer you guys through finding every single one of them, but we'll locate them as we go. And I may venture off to the side to go pick them up, and then we'll carry on. But I'll try to meet you guys at each campsite. We'll work from campsite to campsite and see what happens in between. Look at how beautiful this area is, man. I mean, the sunlight streaming through the trees and just the water flowing. I like any time they do a river here. They do water really, really well in Inquisition. Big fan of that. All right, well, I'm going to head back to camp from right here, and I'll meet you guys there, and we'll head out, and we'll go, I don't know, locate another camp or something. What's this? Ice troll? Troll under the bridge? Is that like a little reference or Easter egg type thing there? I don't know. Anyway, all right, thanks for watching, guys, and hope you're excited for this. We'll get through all these DLCs and see what there is to see and see if we can't learn anything new. Anyway, if you want to subscribe, click that button up top, and if you want to catch the original playthrough, you can click that image there in the middle. It should send you straight to the playlist. Y'all take care. Bye-bye.